Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, excuse me. I'll just, yeah, that makes sense. Excuse me. Sorry. No, you're okay. You know what? Okay, yeah. All right, okay.
The early 20th century was a pivotal time for filmmaking, with filmmakers such as D.W. Griffith, Sergei Eisenstein and the Lumiere brothers helping to pioneer modern cinema. One filmmaker well known for their influence on the industry was French filmmaker Georges Méliès.
Who was Georges Méliès? Well, he was a theatre magician at the end of the 19th century, and decided that he wanted to develop the craft much more, so he bought himself his own theatre. And I think at the end of the 19th century, I think he knew the Lumiere brothers. There's some kind of tenuous connection between them. But he was so fascinated by having seen what they'd recorded that he became interested in using cinema for his own illusions and experimenting with that. But many people say, I mean, he was seen as being one of the key developers of what's known as the cinema of attractions. Academics like Tom Gunning have talked about early cinema. This idea that cinema is a spectacle, and I think the fact that he was one of the first to develop narrative, or to try and tell stories, given that the Lumiere brothers sort of had short 1 minute, 1.5 minute, what they called actualités, so kind of documentaries, that were just filming real life. And what Méliès always did as a kind of performer and a theatre man was he wanted to tell stories. So I think in some senses he's responsible for developing kind of early narrative cinema, in terms of the way that you can kind of string together a series of scenes. So in some senses he's an early innovator, I guess, of what we would now call editing. Yes, and Méliès appears in the film. But this idea of using double exposure, multiple exposure, he sort of introduced the idea of split screen, matting, and rolling the film backwards in the camera as well. So he was interested in basically experimenting in lots of different ways of creating a sense of illusion. And I think in many ways, because he was interested in narrative as well, I guess we could see him as kind of an early progenitor of science fiction and special effects.